Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with me today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with me, well, I'm glad you're here. Each Wednesday, I'm here with you talking about things that weigh on my mind and heart, hoping if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust both our perspectives as you listen. The more people I meet and the more places I go, the more I realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of your life that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy, and this week the three fingers pointing back at me are for Feelin Special. Okay, little background. I am an only child of a school secretary and a car man, okay? Golden boy, look like mom, talk like dad, like all the things. I'm just going to put it out there. You can take it for conceit if you want. I'm just here to tell you what I see in the mirror and what I hear coming back at me from other folk. My mother, beautiful woman, always has been. I've always thought she was such a lovely human being, just strictly aesthetically speaking. Beautiful blonde hair, beautiful blue eyes, sweet smile, a spirit that shines like the top of the Chrysler building. Okay. And when I was growing up, I would feel so special when people would tell me that I looked so much like her. I always felt so incredibly touched and amazing that they would say these kind of things to me. I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Or I would whenever I learned how to accept a compliment. When I was a kid, it was just like, "Well, yeah." You don't realize what's behind it when you're a kid. When you're a little guy, you're just like, "Yeah, I got a mirror. Thanks. I see that." Yeah, because there are a million pictures of our family and this, that, and the other, and it was very clear that I looked more like mom. I had my dad's chin and I had my dad's rear end because for whatever reason we got great big old booties on us in the Bullard menfolk. It was mom that I was told that I looked like. And it was my father people told me I acted like, which was also an enormous, enormous compliment. I think my dad's a really good looking guy too. It's just that my father's superpower is his ability to charm and chat and make friends with anyone in the room. And I love where this is going because this is not exactly where I thought it was going to go whenever I started this. I knew the topic. I came up with the topic. I find these topics and I put them in my phone to make sure that whenever I sit down in front of the microphone, I've got something very specific to work on and focus on for the time we get to spend together. My father taught me that special was not what you were, but it's how you make other people feel. And it wasn't until I sat down to talk about this that it really dawned on me exactly where this was going to go and where I was going to lay that credit. My dad is an amazing human. Like, he is strong-willed and stubborn, which is where I get it. He is charming and just unbelievable in a group of people. He entertains like few others I have ever seen. And I love it when people tell me that my personality reminds them of him and how he can do what he does, spin a yarn or, bring a smile to a room. It's such a wonderful compliment. The compliment I get about looking like my mother makes me feel special. And that's kind of where it stops in the best way possible. I say that so that I can move through the context of that to this next topic. When people compliment me on the way I am like my father, it dawned on me that it isn't that I feel special because they compare me to someone who I think has such a talent for these wonderful interpersonal building relationship prowess skills. It's the fact that my father can make other people feel so special. because he can entertain them. He can bring a smile to their face. He can bring a chuckle from beneath a belly button of even the most stoic individual that you can meet. And I love that people think that I have the same light burning in me. And yes, that does make me feel very special, but that's not where it ends. That's the hallway that leads into the grand ballroom of what my father taught me to be able to do, which is spin that around and share it in the space so that other people can also feel very special. And I love that. What a gift. What a wonderful thing, because being an only child, I'll be honest, it's not difficult as an only child in a loving home to feel very special. There's nobody else to take away from the attention. There's nobody else to get a gift at birthdays or Christmas. Yeah, I'm putting it out there, okay? That's where it could stop. That's where it could end. It could just be the fact that I was the apple of an eye. I was what was prayed for and what was delivered. And that's a wonderful thing. And please, again, this is not an exercise in conceit. This is just what I've been told and what I'm sharing with you now. And it was wonderful to be that. It's wonderful to continue to be that. Things with my family are more strained now than they have been in the past by a good margin. It doesn't change the fact that I know that a lot of who I am comes from them, and I'm grateful. And I can see it, and it's not like the problems that we have now completely undo this mountain of good and pure and right and wonderful that was basically just dumped into me as an empty vessel as a child, okay? And in my endeavor to continue to feel special, not just in this very small group of people, of the two loving human beings who came together to make me, but to also look into wider circles. And instead of, because I have grown and because I have become less stupid in the years that I have been given so generously, I realize that being special isn't about the way that I feel being around someone, though that is part of it. It's not the only part of it. It's the fact that I get to use what I was given in order to make sure that other people feel included, close to that warm, gooey center, right? To be able to make sure that people don't have to sit outside in the cold, both literally and figuratively speaking. That I was given a gift, and I want to continue to refer to it as such. That it's not always something I can call on. People have bad days. Sometimes that milk of human kindness is just outside my reach. It is, and I got to admit that just as readily as I would anything else. I've got to say, hey, I'm sorry. Today I just don't have that in me. And then there are days where you have to nail my feet to the floor to keep me from talking to a stranger in the elevator and trying to do anything in my capability to make this person's life just a little, just a little. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to do everything for everybody. Nobody's got that kind of capability, that kind of capacity for giving. And if they think they do, they're fooling themselves. You got to take care of you, and then you can start taking care of others. And it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, so it don't make no sense. That math ain't mathin'. To give it away to keep? That doesn't compute, Bullard. What are you talking about? Just exactly what I said. And I know it doesn't necessarily make sense, but we're not talking about apples and oranges here. We're talking about love and kinetic kindness, which for whatever reason just kind of came into my head because A, I love an alliteration. 2, K. Who doesn't love that K sound? Is it a fricative? Is that the word I'm looking for? Either way, I love that K. A kinetic kindness. It's not that it just sits there. No, you got to chuck it at somebody. You got to hurl it in their direction gently with intention and direction. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, okay, the heat just kicked on. Great. It's one of those things where you have to continue to remember that special is what you give to others so that they can feel it too. It's not something you hoard, it's something you immediately need to share. Once you realize you've got it, once you realize that it's in your grasp, like you really just like zeroed in on it right now. You're vibing with it. Like it's part of your swagger at this particular snapshot in time. Great. You can't hold on to that. You can't just hoard it. You can't put it under each armpit and hope that you've got enough strength to get it all the way from the car into the house. No, you got to fling it. Okay. You've got to make sure that people don't look at you and see that you've got it and then feel bad because maybe they don't. It's not even a fact. They just think maybe they don't have it because they see you reveling in yours so much. If you're feeling yourself, feel yourself. I'm not harshing you're awesome. That's not at all what I'm doing. I'm not yucking your yum. That's another little phrase I picked up. I'm going to have to work on that because I don't know that I'm 100% on it yet. I love the idea behind it. I don't love the packaging. I'll be honest. Whenever you're feeling that, it is so important to make sure to spin it out. Because whenever you keep it to yourself, okay, for all of my Bible readers out there, for folks who went to VBS a bajillion years in your youth, like this guy over here, 2 thumbs pointing at the speaker. Manna. It falls from heaven to provide your need. It's not something you can store. You must use it when it comes. If you try to store it, it will spoil. This is the same thing. Special equals manna. And the way they described it sounded so delicious. I mean, do you guys remember this? Do you remember how amazing it sounded? First of all, that it falls down in these white, snowy flakes in the Middle East. I'm sure that was quite the spectacle. And it's supposed to taste like honey. And I know that you could do a lot with it. It was a very versatile ingredient. So you could use it to make a lot of different things. The thing was, it wasn't that it was difficult. It just would not last. It was very temporary. It was incredibly nourishing. It was so delicious. And it was abundant. What it wasn't was durable. It filled all the needs to all of those that shared it among themselves. And now that's kind of the way that I feel about this idea of special. Special is one of those things where if you've got it, awesome. Pretty much everybody knows it. It's pretty easy to spot. The part where I think I mess up with it on occasion is the fact that I try to keep it all for myself. I try to be that show off. I try to be that guy that's like, oh yeah, look at me, how charming. Look at me, how fun. Look at me, no. Look at me, I'm here. Look at me, I'm dyed my hair blue and cut it into a mohawk. Okay. Yeah, I love doing all of those things. The thing that is important to remember while you're doing these things that make you special is the fact that you continue to bring people into the fold to show them how anybody can cut their hair into a mohawk and dye it blue if that's what they want to do, as long as they got it. Anybody can take these amazing trips because most of my trips are paid for with points earned on credit cards, paying bills that had to be paid. These are just like, they just accrue. And then all of a sudden I've got this stack of points that I can put towards a flight and then I'm on my way. What do I do to share that special? I tell people, hey, this wasn't money. This was what I got from using my money to buy the things in my life that I had to have. And then I traded those points for this trip. So I'm not the guy that's like, well, anybody can afford it. I'm not necessarily saying that either. I'm saying that anyone can put themselves in a position where they can do it. And you share the knowledge, which is the thing that makes you look special to anybody looking in. And if they are open enough to take that knowledge and do something with it, they too can be the same flavor of special. How great is that? Exactly. And I love these kind of things. I love just pondering on things like this. You ever do that? You just sit there and ponder? I know it doesn't happen as often nowadays because most of us have our face absolutely buried in the phone. Anytime we've got a moment to ponder, where back in the day, we just call it boredom. And eventually you just kind of like go off into la la land thinking about whatever topic it was at hand. I ponder. And I think that sitting in front of this microphone, in front of this computer, helps me do that because I can't look at my phone. I've got to stay focused on what we're talking about. And I want to. It's not that it's a chore or a burden of any kind. What it is a very specific necessity for me to stay on point, on topic, talking about these kind of things. And I just imagine who I'm talking to. I can see faces of some of y'all in my head right now. There's my North Carolina tribe. There's my Blount County tribe. There's a couple of Vegas folk whom I love so much. There's so many folks. There's people that I've met from all over the world that if I should be so fortunate that they're listening, they're the people I hold in my head whenever I think about to whom I'm speaking, whenever I think about what it is that needs to be said and how I need to sort of like broaden my consciousness to think bigger about so many of these things. Everybody wants to be special. Everybody wants to stand out. Not necessarily in the same ways. I know a lot of people who would rather absolutely crawl in a hole and die than set foot on a stage to be looked at by all these strangers. I get that. What I'm saying is that there are other things that make those people feel the same kind of special that I do whenever I do the things that I do to make myself feel special. That seemed very convoluted, syntactically speaking. Do y'all get what I'm saying on that? Everybody wants to feel special in their own vein. And I think that as special people who have walked into and continue to grow into and walk in their awesome, we have a bit of a responsibility to make sure that we feed those people what it is they need to do to reach the level to grow out of whatever it is that's holding them back to feel special. And sometimes it can be something as easy as a compliment, like your shoes. Great haircut. Where'd you get that tie? I've been looking for something that color forever, and you've pulled it together beautifully. We were in the lobby in a hotel in Canada on tour not long ago, and this lady steps out of the elevator, and she has on head to toe. It's all charcoal gray and caramel brown, and it looks spectacular. You can tell this woman has put effort into this entire ensemble, but by the way it has come together. Those two colors, whenever I say them out loud, don't really strike me as two that really go hardcore together. You know what I mean? Like black and charcoal gray, absolutely. Maroon and charcoal gray. Ooh, that is a sexy combination. Caramel brown and charcoal gray? That takes some orchestration. And this lady was holding the baton like a boss. Just so we're clear. She steps off the elevator and I get to tell her, like, wow, you look incredible. You are so put together, like the way your shoes match the bag, not just in color, caramel brown, also in the grain of the leather. They were both crocodile grain. I don't know if they were actually both crocodile hide, but the grain was definitely similar, if not identical. And then she was wearing like a sweater dress that fit her like it was made for her. And then even her ponytail, like her hair decor, barrette, clasp, whatever, was somehow zoned in to both the caramel brown and the charcoal gray. And this woman stopped in her tracks and she turned to look at me, and then she looked at her husband, and then she looked back at me, and it took a moment before anybody said anything. And the husband was the first one to break the silence because I thought I'd already just screwed up royally. And he says, I don't know how you knew. He says, but that is what she lives to do, is get these outfits together that just match everything else in the outfit perfectly. So for her to step out of the elevator and hear you tell her that first thing in the morning before coffee or anything, he says, I don't know how you knew or why you said it, but she is going to be insufferable the rest of this day. And I loved it. I loved it. It takes something so small and so insignificant and just, it takes paying attention. It takes being willing to share what it is that you've got with somebody else. And not everyone is going to pick up what you're putting down, friends, okay? Not everyone is going to want to smell what you're stepping in, just so we are abundantly clear. That's okay, because I've done that too. Good God Almighty, if I put my foot right square in my mouth and swallowed cheese and rice, and then you move on from that person. And yeah, you're going to be just a little bit gun shy, perhaps, in future interactions of that ilk. You can't stop. Please don't stop. Please don't stop. Make sure that whatever's going on, that you continue to do what it is that you're doing so that you can spin that special out, that kinetic kindness. I do like that. I do. Pardon me for absolutely breaking my elbow while I pat myself on the back. I like that. It needs to move from you. Sitting there in that puddle of it feels so good for a moment. And then it becomes like the manna. It's not something you can store. It's not something that keeps. You've got to give it away in order for you to get everything that you want out of it, need from it, and also supply the needs of those around you, because they're hungry too. They have needs. And I think it's so incredibly important to make sure that we continue to focus on that, because special isn't just who you are, who loves you, what you can do for the world. It's also doing what you can do for the world so that they also feel special, right? Exactly. I am so grateful for that heater, but it makes me very uncomfortable and self-conscious whenever it's blowing while I'm trying to talk. Now, where did we leave off? Exactly. Kinetic kindness. You can't just hold on to it. Feeling special is wonderful. It's also one of those things, it's almost like, it's like getting a whole bundt cake for your birthday. The whole thing. And you sit down and you start eating and you start eating. You realize this is a lot of cake. It's a lot of cake. Now I can share it with other folks. We can all have a piece of that, and it's going to make all of us happy. It's going to bring a smile to everybody's face. Or I can try to eat the whole thing by myself and end up miserable, and everybody else is probably going to feel a little bit worse because they saw the cake, saw me eating it. They don't begrudge me because it's my birthday. They know it's absolutely mine to share if I want to. I just didn't. And I don't think that would be a judgment thing as much as it would be a disappointment. To know that someone has the capability of sharing something like that element of special, and they don't. And I don't think a lot of people even think about it. If I'm being real honest with myself, I think we deal with a lot of things like envy, and a lot of people are so caught up in their own stuff. And I know, geez, Louise, we've all got something going on, don't we? It is a very busy time in the world. Especially now, I'm recording this at the very tail end of November. So, we're gearing up for the holiday season. So everybody, what was once set at 8 is now been cranked up to about 9.6. And folks they're focused on their stuff. And sometimes it can be really easy for any or all of us to forget about the special, to forget about how easily it's shared and how little it takes to make other people part of it. To bring them into the fold, to bring them close to the fire. Again, whenever I say stuff like this, I'm so grateful that I get these pictures in my brain, like bring them close to the fire. I see like our ancient ancestors gathered around the campfire, and you've got people who would stick close to the fire, and those who were closer to the fire had a greater chance of survival. And those who were farther away or weren't part of the tribe, if they didn't share resource, if they didn't share the heat or the light from the fire, it could be, a very difficult proposition to survive the morning until morning. And though I don't think the stakes are quite as high, I also don't want to discount them as being low either. I got to spend a lot of time with my boys while we were on the road in Texas. We had 3 shows in 4 days in Texas, and it was a blast. Pardon me, 4 shows in 3 days. Got my numbers mixed up. And I am a toucher. I'm tactile. I love to hug. I love to put my hand on someone's shoulder or on their forearm whenever I'm talking to them. Uh, Usually, more often than not, men. I try to be very mindful about my interactions with women because I don't want to overstep. I want to make sure that I'm very careful. We have done a disservice to many of our women folk, and I think that I would rather just be invited into that sort of interaction than to assume. With my boys, whatever, it's fine. I've known them forever, and I think that we're close enough. And if we aren't, I have every confidence they would tell me that. And if boys, if you're listening, that goes for you too. We got to hug on each other. We got to tussle just ever so slightly. We got to go to the gym together. We got to help each other get ready for the shows. They're like, hey, can you check my collar to make sure it's okay? Can you roll the cuffs on my short sleeves? Because for the second act, we go out in these tight black polos and these pullover sweater vests. And it's just one of those things where you forget how nice it is just to have that contact with someone, to share that, to again, to spread it around. Because me being a single man living alone, you don't always get that kind of contact. And, after years after COVID, it's not always something that you get on a daily basis, like a hug or, any kind of contact like that. So to be able to do that kind of goes along the same thing. Whenever you have this, it's great to share it. Like whenever I have this presence, this person, I have the ability to help. It helps me to help somebody else because of that contact, because of knowing that what I did was helpful. It was a contribution. Could they have done it by themselves? Sure. Of course. They could have fixed that collar. They could have rolled that sleeve. Yeah. Did I do it quicker? Was I available to and willing to and ready to help? Also, yes. And that helped all of us. I don't know. Is that a good example? I'm thinking it is because I know that I came home from the gigs feeling so much more higher, elevated, because I got that chance to not only be helpful because I saw that what I was able to do helped somebody else. It was a convenience, a courtesy, a pleasantry. But being able to hold on to people that I love and care about very much, admire for their talent and what they can do on a stage, and also, for just who they are, just as generally good human beings. It made me feel part of a group instead of just an island. I felt like one of the Aleutians. I'm one of those little spots right off the tail of Alaska. I'm not alone. I'm an individual, but I'm not alone. And I want to make sure that whenever I get that feeling of special, that I've crossed over into my power. I'm really rolling, like my just got paid, and all the bills are sorted, and fridge is full of food, and I'm feeling like I'm wearing something that looks really good and flatters all of my curves and bumps and whatnots. It's like, yeah, yeah. And then I reach out and I give some of that to somebody else because it's never a finite resource. It comes and goes, it ebbs and flows for sure. There is not so little in the tank that I can't share that special around to make sure that people welcome into my little circle on the carpet. I do love our time we get to spend together. If this is your first episode of Radical Joy, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you chose this episode to join us and find out what we're all about. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. We're thrilled to have our repeat listeners. It's always so nice to have you here. And also, I say repeat listener, I hope you're talking back. I hope something I say in here is so incredibly agreeable to you or strikes a chord so deeply in you that you want to speak back to your device, whether it's your phone or your car or your computer, wherever it is that you're listening. I hope you have to say something because something we've discussed here drums up so strong an emotion in you. I'm a Yelp guy, so I love to do reviews. TripAdvisor, Google, Facebook, any and all of it. Anywhere I can leave some good press, I love to do it because I know how helpful it is. I ask that if you're that kind of person, you do the same for us here at Radical Joy. Wherever it is that you're listening on whichever platform, please make sure you leave us a review, especially if you've enjoyed it. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Take a screenshot of it, send it to us so that we know that you did that so we can send you a thank you. It's probably going to be a sticker, probably going to have my face on it, drinking out of a cup of coffee, just grinning like an idiot because coffee makes me very happy. You can put that sticker on a water bottle, on a computer, on a journal, wherever it is you want to stick it. It's got great adhesive on the back too. I'm here to tell you, it's there for the long haul. So careful where you stick it. Make sure you want it there for a long, long time. No matter what, I just want to make sure that everyone out there hearing the sound of my voice knows how grateful I am that you're here. Thank you for making this a thing. We've been here over a year now, and I could not be happier with our progress. And I hope it continues to climb as we continue to take these times together every week. Love y'all.
The bottom line is, use your words, friends. Thank you for joining us again in this moment of radical joy. If this is your first time, we're so happy you're here. Take a moment to check out our archive. See if there's something else that fires you up, rekindles the joy in you. And hey, spread the word if you enjoyed it. We welcome reviews and messages. Let me know what you want to talk about. I rarely run out of things to say. So if there's something on your mind or heart, I want to hear from you. Don't forget, there is no shame in joy. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 911. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Anything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Learn more about James and CLW Studios. Follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave a review, and hey, we'll send you a sticker. Just send a screenshot and let us know where you want it sent. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of radical joy. Love y'all.